Thanks, Gregor. This question's for Mark. Hi, Mark. Obviously, you get to this level, leadership in general comes in different shapes and forms. I'm just curious what you believe your assets are as a leader on this team, and how you would consider yourself a leader.
I think it's I try to do everything. It's not always yelling and screaming. It's not always that stuff, but I try to lead by example. I try to work on my game. I try to work hard in practice, work hard in games, and do the right things over and over. I'm kind of a lead by example guy, and that's kind of the way I always look at it. I always look at everything comes back to hard work and work ethic and working on your game, and that's the way I look at leadership.
Go next to Ted Wyman from the Winnipeg Sun. Go ahead, Ted.
Thanks, Gregor. Hey, Mark, you've always said you enjoy going up against the best players of the world. So does that mean you relish the opportunity to face McDavid in a playoff series?
Oh, for sure. Those guys, they motivate you to be better. They motivate you to work in your game even more. They motivate you to, be at your best every single game. So, then, you put the magnification of Stanley Cup playoffs on the line. It amplifies it even more. So, I'm definitely very excited for the opportunity and excited for the challenge. And, I know those guys are as well. So, it's fun to play against the best. Both those guys, prove day in and day out how, they're the best players in the world. And, you have to be at your best every single shift against them, or they're going to make you pay.
We'll go back to Ted Wyman for a follow-up. Go ahead, Ted.
Thanks. Hey, Paul, I don't know if you've had a chance to see it, but all the overtime games, close games to start these playoffs, do you think that's a product of all these teams playing one another so often?
I don't know. My wife asked me that the other day. I don't know. I think it's just that's playoff hockey. They're all close games. I think the highs and lows, and it's a different game too. I think, it just shows the parity in the NHL more than anything. I think every year in playoffs, last year might have been different at first just because you had that 4-month break where some teams were in better shape than others. But I feel like normally every year it's just one against top team or 1 against 16 could be an upset every time. And I think talking inside the locker room, I think if we're trying to predict who would win every series, so many guys, pick one team and so many guys pick the other team. It just shows you how much kind of parity there is top to bottom and how much skill there is in this league. And it's kind of what makes it kind of the greatest sport in the world. And as a fan, for Scheifele and I, and as a fan that doesn't play hockey, that's why playoff hockey is so good, because you can't take your eyes off TV. You almost have to wait till a TV timeout or intermission to kind of go do something.
We'll go next to Mitchell Clinton from Jets TV. Go ahead, Mitch.
Thanks, Gregor. Paul, just curious what was running through your head as you're playing regular season game 56 and you go into the end boards the way that you did from that check, and just to be able to get back on the ice for practice as a full participant today. How are you guys kind of spending the next couple of days to be prepared for game one?
Yeah, I think like anything, we're just fine tuning the game, and guys that have bumps and bruises are kind of taking care of themselves. I was happy to get that first shift out of the way, whether it was an injury or not, just to play a 56-game season. But that's just sometimes, you get hit in the perfect spot. It kind of just shocks the body a little bit, but not too worried about it. I'll be fine.
We'll go next to Carter Brooks from Game On. Go ahead, Carter.
Hey, Mark. I have a question as to the Jets' performance in 2018. It was sensational. You did well yourself, a fantastic playoff stretch. How do you think you can kind of bring some of that same performance this year come the playoffs?
Just by, doing the right things. It's, I play with some pretty fantastic players on my line. So, you just got to do the right things. You do you work hard, you go to the right areas, and good things will happen. So, I think it's just a matter of, doing the same things over and over, doing the right things over and over. And from that, good things will happen.
We'll go next to Kelly Moore from 680 CJOB. Go ahead, Kelly.
Thank you, Gregor. The first one is for Mark. Both of the teams had lethal power plays in the head-to-head matchup during the regular season. Do you see that continuing on in this series? And B, will that maybe force teams to be just a tad less aggressive?
Yeah, you never know. Playoffs, you watch the first few games, you see how heated it gets. You see teams are going to get power plays, but, obviously they have a pretty lethal one. You don't want to get those guys feeling good. touching the puck a lot. So, you got to control your sticks. You got to do the right thing, but, it's going to come time where you're going to have to kill a penalty, and, you got to do the right things. You got to prepare ourselves. We got to prepare ourselves as a team for what to expect, and kind of just go from there.
Go back to Kelly Moore for a follow-up. Go ahead, Kelly.
Thanks, Gregor. And Paul, this one for you. In your experience, going into the playoffs, is it better habit to stick with what got you here in terms of the power play? Or do you go the route of maybe being a little less predictable and trying to change things up undercover?
I mean, the more options, the better. And I think, like Scheifele was saying, I think on our team, we got 2 good units, which means we have a lot of good players. So if you kind of flip-flop different guys, if guys play different positions, we're comfortable in all those slots. So I think that's what's nice when you have options. And I think we're comfortable. If certain players are playing game 1 of doing one unit, and if guys come back during the series, or if certain guys get hurt during the series, we're comfortable switching it up. And we did during the regular season. And I think, especially for Scheifele's unit, I think, Wheels has been playing that half wall his whole career, so he's comfortable playing there. So if he has to play half wall, he has to play half wall. If he has to play goal line, he's comfortable there too. So I think it's us as players, I think it's not that big of a change, and it just gives a different look sometimes when things could get stagnant in a series.
We'll go next to Sarah Lesky from TSN. Go ahead, Sarah.
Thanks, Greg. This question's for Mark. Mark, I wanted to ask you about the picture that was posted on the Jets Instagram account. I think it was yesterday, perhaps, of you with the goats. How long have you been a goat owner, and what's the story behind that?
Yeah, I think I've been a goat owner for a month and a half, maybe. Got 2 baby goats. Named them after my 2 favorite athletes, so Tiger Woods and Tom Brady. So it's just fun. They're best friends with Oliver, so it's just they're fun little guys. They're energetic. They're pretty fun to hang out with. So brought them to the rink the other day, and they were buzzing around on the ice. So it was pretty cool to see that. I don't think the trainers were too happy because they kind of pooped everywhere. But no, I've been a goat owner for I think a month and a half now.
And we'll go back to Sarah Lesky for a follow-up.
Okay, so how did that come to be? The Ollie and the dog make sense for it. Not that goats don't make sense, but maybe a little bit more of an unusual choice.
Just for fun. Just literally just for fun. They're literally just pets. I don't know. Obviously I'm a big fan of Tom Brady and Tiger Woods, so it kind of, it's kind of a little bit of a joke, but they're fun. I have a bunch of space to let them roam around and eat grass and get outside. So, it's a pretty cool thing. Honestly, I never really knew much about them. And then, you start taking care of them, and you bring them, you wake up in the morning, you bring them, they're like alfalfa pellets, and, you open the door, they like instantly like baa at you. So it's kind of like they're saying like, Dad. So it's just kind of funny. It's honestly more of a joke than anything, but they're our pets. And, like I said before, them and Oliver are becoming best buddies. So it's more of just a fun thing than anything.
We'll go next to Ken Weeb from Sportsnet. Go ahead, Weaver.
Thanks, Gregor. Tough to follow that question up, but Mark, after having the pursuit of the cup taken away 3 shifts in last year, how are you approaching this playoff opportunity?
Just excited. It's felt like forever since that happened. So that's not really on my mind, but just excited. It's Stanley Cup playoff hockey. I know we're all just chomping at the bit. You're watching. You watched that Tampa Bay Florida game last night, and if your juices didn't get going, then there's something wrong with you. It's fun hockey. It's it's playoff hockey again, and I'm just ready to play, ready to get into the game, and obviously excited to play against a tough Edmonton team.
We'll go next to Stephen Wino from the Associated Press. Go ahead, Stephen.
Another non-GOAT question for you, Paul. In line with that, you guys had that 2018 run where you get to the Western Conference Final. I'm sure you're dreaming about the Stanley Cup as that goes on, but a Canadian team's guaranteed to get to the Final Four. Your dad had an opportunity to play in the playoffs for a Canadian team. You've done it. Have you given any thought to that possibility and just that long-standing dream of being able to bring the cup back to Canada?
Yeah, not that specific. I think it doesn't matter where you're at. I think you always think that. you don't get too far ahead of yourself. I think, but I think we do realize the opportunity that comes about with, like you said, one of the Final Four Canadian team, one of the Final Four is gonna be a Canadian team, and then I don't know. It's been a tough year for Canada, especially because everything's just nothing's open. There's nothing going on here. So I think a lot of people will be kind of watching the playoffs and be rooting for obviously their cities and from there. And I think I don't know. It's kind of a good backstory sometimes. I think you want to use that kind of pushing you forward as you battle so much adversity throughout the season, whether it's 56 games and 100 and something days or injuries or just kind of playoffs and not knowing, you're going to play the season. Plus, I think, when I talk to my buddies in their states, sometimes they complain, but then I tell them, how different it is here. And then they're like, oh, you're right. It's a lot tougher. And it's been mentally tough for the families, for the players. But I think day in, day out, I've kind of stuck with it and just realized that we can do what we love and we know we're going to have the support of all the fans and the people around us. And that's kind of extra motivation to do well and perform well in the playoffs.
Go next to Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet. Go ahead, Sean.
Thanks, Gregor. This one's for Mark. Mark, you talked about watching that Tampa Bay, Florida game and your juice is getting going. It sounds when you talk like you take a very methodical approach to your hockey, just do the right things over and over again and it'll take care of itself. I'm wondering how emotions fit into that, especially in the playoffs. I mean, how do you approach the balance between capitalizing on emotions and not being overwhelmed and getting out of that methodical approach that you take?
I think the emotion is a good thing. You want to get fired up for the game. You want to get ready. You want there to be emotion in the game. Obviously, you don't want to take it to the next level. And I think that's what experience does. You figure out, how much emotion to bring, not to get too fired up, but, I think that emotion is good. You want to be excited. You want to be fired up, for a playoff game. And that just brings extra motivation. It brings extra energy. It gives you extra, it gives you that extra energy to, do that extra thing or make that extra play or whatever it is. And, I think that's the fun part about playoff hockey. We're a few days away from playing and, you just want to get going.
Go next to Jeff Hamilton from the Winnipeg Free Press. Go ahead, Jeff.
Back to you, Mark. Just to feed off of Ted's question from earlier, just about Connor McDavid, and you obviously wanting to be in that conversation with the best players in this league. Do you, even if you're not up against them, even if your line's not up against them, so it's not like a one-on-one battle, do you still use those games that you play against the Connor McDavids of this league? There is more than one. To actually use as a measuring stick, like those actual games where you're up against them? And will you see this playoff series as a defining moment in that conversation of being in with those other players?
Well, yeah, I think Connor, first of all, proved how fantastic of a player he is this year. He really stepped up his game, and it was impressive to watch. I'm a big fan of his. He's a fantastic hockey player, and he's the best player in our game right now. So, I definitely have thought about it over the last few days. And ever since we knew that we were going to play against Edmonton, you can think about the times where, I was out against Connor and he got the best of me, or, I made a play on him, and you try to think about ways that you can take advantage of him when he's on the ice, or, what to do when, what to do on the defensive side. So I think all that stuff is all learning experiences. You learn what they do. And obviously he's gonna make you pay if you give him time. He's gonna make you pay if he, if you're not in the right spot. So, I think for the most part, you just have to, use those games during the season as a learning curve, and these next few days, obviously, work on things, work on your game, work hard, and try to prepare yourself, as much as possible for that first game.
And final question to Gemma Carson-Smith from the Canadian Press. Go ahead, Gemma.
Hi there. Question for Paul. Paul, we know that you're such a fan of the game and are such kind of like a hockey head. I'm wondering if you know anything about the kind of historic matchups between the Oilers and the Jets in the playoffs, and what you know about those series and what you can take from those heading into this one.
Actually, you know what? Yesterday there was an article, I think, in the Score app, and it had like the 7 best Canadian division kind of series in history. And I was reading about the, I think, 1990 Oilers against Jets. No, I mean, like, yeah, I love the history of the game. I remember talking to my dad, or talking to Steen, Alex Steen's dad, Tomas, about how Winnipeg in the 80s and early 90s were as good as Edmonton all the time. But, basically the only difference was, goaltending. Edmonton basically had that Hall of Fame goaltender in Grant Fuhr, and whether it's Billy Ranford, whoever. And basically that was the only reason kind of Winnipeg never made that step forward. So Winnipeg came close. They came knocking. They've had good teams in the past. And, there's a great history here. We just you want to add to it. And it's hard to you don't really look at the history of playoff series because different time, different players. That was a just 1.0. This is just 2.0. So, but it's fun. I think anytime you can participate, like you said, anytime you see two Canadian teams play each other in playoffs, it doesn't happen often. And it just kind of adds to the lore a little bit. And I think we're excited. I'm sure Montreal, Toronto are excited just because you don't see it too often.